Hey guys, welcome back to Matters of the Heart and Soul podcast. My name is Janie, one of your hosts, and welcome back to a new podcast. So, today we're talking about meditation for beginners, finding your calm. And I know how much meditation has really impacted my life for the better. And being in the healthcare field, I want this modality, this practice to be available to everyone. But when you hear the word meditation, it feels a little like mysterious. So we want to demystify it, make it simple, make it easy. So today I am talking to Tania Ho. All right, she is originally from Hong Kong, so she's native of Hong Kong, but she currently resides in Chiang Rai, Thailand. She's the founder of Museflower Retreat and Spa, which is beautiful. If you look at it online, it's a beautiful retreat. She's been in business for 10 years and it's an all-inclusive wellness retreat and offers tons of things, meditation, yoga, spa, soulful retreats. I mean, it's just all these things. So today we are going to dive into meditation and demystify it and make it simple and how this could really help us, especially here in the United States. All right. So welcome to the podcast, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so just if whatever I didn't say, can you just briefly, introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yes. Well, actually, you covered it pretty well. I am originally from Hong Kong, and I'm the founder owner of Museflower Retreat and Spa. And as you mentioned, we are an all-inclusive vegetarian wellness retreat, and we have yoga retreats, meditation, spa and soulful retreat. So it's a space to create for busy people to come here. We're in kind of like a countryside, so to reconnect with nature and to have this chance to really take a break and to reconnect with themselves as well. And so I do teach different types of meditation when I guests come here. Also, I offer like some healing sessions and like card readings as well for our guests.
Okay, awesome. So, Tanya, how did you get into this space? Like, what got you here? Was this a part of your childhood? Were you raised with these types of practices? How did you get here?
So actually, kind of long story short, my background is actually hotel management, and but I always have like a kind of interest in natural health, and so my direction going was into spa management. And then so after graduating from college, I got this job working in a spa in Thailand, and that's where I actually got to know about all these different kind of holistic therapies out there besides spa treatments. And then a few years later, my dad passed away. So I feel that was really a turning point for me to resign from my job at that time and kind of think about, okay, well, I know what I didn't want to do, but like I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so going that journey for myself and then having this opportunity, to attend a retreat for myself first, for my own healing, for my grief. And then having this opportunity to open up a retreat center later back in Thailand again. And that was, yeah, like 12 years ago, we started this project.
Yeah, so you said that you were kind of prompted when your father passed away, which I think everybody probably have experienced that or will experience that at some point in their life. And you said you helped it with your grief. Can you just go a little bit deeper? Like, what were you experiencing? What were you seeking? And then what did meditation or these other practices kind of bring to light for you?
Yeah. Well, actually, the funny thing is, I think at that time I attended a retreat, and the retreat there was like crystal singing bowls meditation, and it was like my first time to attend a meditation like that. And I always thought meditation was like counting your breath, sitting cross-legged. And so I was really like pleasantly surprised to realize, oh, I could actually lie down and enjoy this, and even maybe fall asleep a little. And it was like meditation. So that was like the beginning of, my experience with different types of meditation. And, the retreat itself, it was also kind of like a self-discovery for me, learning more about myself. And at that time, also had like eczema, but not like, it was just a small flare of eczema. And, I knew that, learning that is actually related to the grief that was coming up and to, healing that not just on the physical level, but on the emotional and mental level as well.
Yeah. That's interesting. You talked about eczema. We'll come back to that. Why do you think meditation is needed in today's world?
Ah, very good question. Well, really I delved in and out of meditation for many years. And it was really a few years ago I decided, well, every, spiritual teacher has been talking about meditation. My energy healing teacher has been talking about the importance of meditation. So I was like, I'm going to try it myself and see, if I do it every day, does it really make a difference in my life? And the answer is yes. I feel like just with so like many things going on, it really just helped me to be sane in this kind of crazy world sometimes, to be able to kind of operate from that space with more awareness. Um, and the calm is kind of like it does happen sometimes, but I do want to stress also that it's almost like the side effects of meditation. It's not the main purpose of meditation. The main purpose of meditation is to cultivate awareness. And so, yeah, I always tell people it really helped me to keep sane. And then, the more I do it, I'm more grounded and centered, I feel, for myself and just really more connected to myself, on the emotional level, understanding of my thoughts on the mental level as well.
Yeah. So you mentioned that really meditation is to cultivate awareness, which that's so important. Can you speak a little bit more about awareness? Like, what is awareness and why is that so?
Mm. Well, for me, awareness is just really being in the present moment and being understanding there's an observer part of you. So it's like we go into a cinema when we watch a movie and we're watching this movie, and we're like the actor, the actress in the movie. We're like the director of the movie. So like we're really engrossed in like the drama of like the movie, which is our
Yeah.
everyday life. And then understanding, oh, but there's an observer part. So understanding that we have all these thoughts, but we're not our thoughts. Just like we're not our arm and we have all these emotions, but we're not defined by these emotions. We started having this awareness of stuff, of like, oh, I have all these thoughts, and and I have all these patterns and beliefs, and I have the power to change that. And so, and also, a lot of times we go into like autopilot, and like when we so used to doing things become like habits, so we don't even question it, or conditioning. When we grow up in societies, like things just like, oh, we never question it, and we can start to like have this awareness to it's like, oh, is it really like my understanding or my belief, or is it from someone else? Like, is it from my parents, or is it from the societies or other people's expectations that I'm playing, like, laying on myself? So having that awareness, I feel like it's really important. Also for emotional mental health, really, right? Just understanding, like being observing our thoughts, and and their emotions as well.
Yeah. Like I think it like and then it's like we all have emotions, right? So I could take a step back and observe these emotions and not judge it, right? Let it just kind of
Yes.
calm, understand why am I angry? Why am I anxious? Like why am I all the things? But I think awareness allows us, like you said, to sit back, don't judge it, and then choose, do we want to change this? Do we want to keep this? Like, what do we want to do with it? And I do feel like that keeps us powerful. Like, it's like we own that power.
Yeah, totally agree with what you said.
Yeah. All right. So, saying that with meditation is about being in the present moment. Why is being in the present moment so important?
Mm. Well, I feel like in nowadays, like our head, our mind, it's always, well, not always, but being in the present, it means like we're not thinking about the future. So we're not worrying. we're not always planning ahead. Well, I mean, it's good to plan ahead, but we're not like worrying about the future. And then we're not just overthinking like of what's happening in the past. Like sometimes we also get stuck in replaying what's been happening in the past. And so coming in the present is really just coming to acceptance to where we are. And I feel like a lot of time we experience some form of suffering is because there's this kind of resistance. Like, I don't want to be here because I want to be over there where they feel like, oh, that's, how successful looks like, or that's how happiness looks like. So I want to be there.
Yeah.
Or I used to be so happy. I used to be so young. I used to be so, and, our mind is there. We're not here. We're
Yeah.
not practicing the acceptance. And that causes all this, you can say, sort of struggle, right? Between the heart and the mind and the soul. And the body kind of takes on it. Like there's a physical toll on the body as well.
Yeah, I think it causes our suffering. And because we either we want to go back to what we had because that time in our life was XYZ, or we're stuck in the past, we can't move on, such as grief. Grief can sometimes keep people stuck. And if we
Yeah.
don't focus here in the present, we suffer or we miss what we're supposed to learn right here, right now as well.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's very much, when you mention awareness, it's part of the awareness also is to understand, oh, we're here to learn something. Um, and that's the journey of life.
Exactly. All right. So let's talk about the types of meditation. You and I chatted a
Mm,
little bit before we started recording about I do shower meditations every day. It's a way for me to
mm,
release energy because I deal with a lot of people throughout the day and release energy that doesn't belong to me, call my energy back to me. Also, just affirm for family members where people want to say it's prayer or whatever. It's just a way that I envision them in their highest vibration or whatever they need.
mm.
So, what are some simple meditations for beginners and that they can feel empowered in this? And like you said, don't feel like, oh my God, I got to sit here with my legs crossed with, my hands in a certain position and my mind is going crazy. Because that's the biggest complaint. Everybody says, I just got all these thoughts. So, can you
Yeah.
give some basic things, some for the beginners?
Yeah. So the way how I see meditation is there's so many different styles, and I see it kind of like it related each of a different sense, like our six senses. And it really comes down to finding a type of meditation that matches like your learning style, because we all have different learning styles. And I always tell people, if you try one type of meditation and you feel like it didn't work for you, quote unquote, please don't give up. Try different types of meditation. It's like finding your partner, right? Like, so try different styles because it really kind of comes with our learning style, I feel. So some people who are really visual, like they're really good at visualizing, visualizing like visualization type of meditation would work well for these people. Some people who feel like they cannot sit still, so maybe like walking meditation, like you mentioned, you do that too, like anything that involves movement, but having that mindful awareness, that will be, a more suitable meditation for that person. And I have a lot of people, coming to Museflower and they mentioned that, they feel like they can't sit still for meditation or they tried and they failed. Um, and so I would encourage, them to try like, or maybe try lying down meditation, like sound baths, for example. I mentioned like with Crystal saying, well, yoga nidra is a different type of meditation. You can lie down. It's called like a sleeping yoga. Not supposed to fall asleep, but you can fall asleep. So there are just, yeah, like different styles of meditation out there. And I feel like another important thing to address, like you said, the myth, to demystify, is the expectation people have with meditation. And I think the key word here is really practice. Because if you're a beginner and you go into the first practice, it's like you go into yoga class, you wouldn't be expecting yourself to be able to do like a headstand in a first class. So, people kind of expect I have to feel calm. My mind have like no thoughts after like one practice. And sometimes that may happen, but sometimes that doesn't, and doesn't mean that you failed. It is a practice, right? The more you do it, the better, easier you're going to get for you. And so, like I said in the beginning, it's all about cultivating awareness. And so when people go into meditation for the first time, they're like, oh, but my mind is everywhere, like my thoughts everywhere. I'm like, that's great. You're having this awareness of your mind is everywhere. And that is already, you're already on the right track. So just
Exactly.
having also that, yeah, like not that expectation of like, oh, I have to be calm. And if
Yeah.
I don't, I failed. It's not true. It is a practice. Remember, it's a practice.
Yeah. That's a great point. So, what would be your top three tips for someone
Mm.
who's like, okay, this is my very first meditation. What should I do? What do I do?
Yes. So, well, it's always great there's just so many like great resources online. A lot of them are free, and there are a lot of free apps like people can follow with like meditation. I would say really, if it's possible it's like yoga, you can join like a group class in your community. Um, or you can do it find something online and you can do it by yourself, do an app. I would say, my tip is really, having no expectations and just start like really small. So, don't expect yourself to be able to sit for like 20 minutes. I'll say like even just start with like any amount of time, like 1 minute would be great. And, start small and you can slowly build up to it. And so start with like 1 minute, having time. Maybe it's just a few deep breaths in and out. And you can call, oh, like that's my meditation. And that's okay. Like it doesn't have to be so complicated. So going with like senses, coming with your own, understanding what works for you. So like with sight, there's like visualization. With sound, there's like using of mantra or using like different sound. You can chant if you've been in yoga class, some people might have chant om or aum. With like touch is a little bit like it might be a little bit tricky, but think about there are some tools, for example, like labyrinth. So you can walk a labyrinth, or you can actually trace a labyrinth with a finger. It's called finger labyrinth walk. And then, with smell and taste, they're a little bit more on the subtle sense. I think smell is more related to like your breathing. So you can use breathing, you can count your breath. Um, like there's a really popular technique called the box breath, which is, you count like four inhale, and then you hold for four, and count four for exhale, and then you hold for four. So you can also do that just for a few breaths and just to see how that feels.
Hmm. Yeah, breathing is good. I recommend that to anybody. Just if you don't know what to do, just breathe. Just breathe in the moment. Just be right there and just breathe. Sometimes that's the best thing we could do. All right. So, how do you define intuition?
Mm. So intuition, we're talking about the six senses, right? So the sixth sense usually feel like that's the intuition. And to me, intuition is really like some people call it inner voice. That's like your soul's voice. And to me, it's like a gateway to really to understand, to listen to. You can say your soul's voice, and also to the universe, the guidance from the universe. Like that's where you can pick up the signs, for example, from the universe.
Hmm.
And
And
it's like this inner knowing.
yeah.
Sorry, yeah, inner knowing, this inner
Mhm.
compass that guides you on the path.
And meditation has really, I felt always connected to that, to intuition, but I feel
Definitely.
meditation has definitely just like everything's calm and I could hear and I could just get those downloads easier. Um, for someone who is like, I just feel disconnected. I don't hear nothing. I don't even hear an inner voice. What do you recommend for those people that and they're trying to connect?
Mm. So, well, first of all, also like meditation, our intuition can speak to us in different ways and it really connect to something called your dominant sense. We're all born with a dominant sense. Um, And it's actually, I read this in a child development book. So it's actually done in research that, when we're born, we all have a dominant sense. So sometimes for some people it's inner voice, but some people it's just, for me, it's just a feeling, it's a knowing.
Mhm.
And I love you said that, when people ask me, how can I listen to intuition, is exactly what you said. I would say practice meditation, because meditation is you practicing that deep listening.
Yeah.
And sometimes something might come up, sometimes something doesn't come up. That's okay. That's kind of like, again, not the main purpose of meditation. That's just like the side effect that, like, oh, I might receive something. But yeah, I would say definitely start practicing meditation. And like there's different forms of meditation out there. So if they can't hear something, maybe because intuition doesn't come that way for you. Maybe it comes in for people, it's like pictures of people. Like I said, it's just they might actually feel in like a physical body. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, it's like a knowing. Yeah, they can't
Yeah.
even explain it.
Yeah. I get chills. I'll get chills
Mm,
back. It's a knowing sometimes, it's a feeling, and then sometimes it's just a download, like out of nowhere, like bam. And I'm like, where did that come from? So, and now that I understand it's like using all of these senses to feel these messages that's coming,
mm,
right? So, now with meditation, I know it's important to do intention setting. Why is
mm.
intention setting important?
Well, thank you for asking that, because I love talking about intention setting. And I always tell people for any spiritual practice you do, when you set an intention, and the intention is thinking, well, how can this practice support me? You really personalize it, I feel. And it's building this almost like this bridge between, you and the practice, and to make this work for you, or like to make this, you want this practice to add value to you, to support you.
Mm-hmm.
And for intention setting, for me, I always focus on the feeling. What is it that I want to feel?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I do my intention setting. I don't know, is that how, or for you to do your intention setting as well?
Yeah, I definitely love to feel lots of things. So I definitely focus on that. Like, okay, if I want that, how does that make me feel? Like if I say, okay, I want to be healthy, what does that feel like to me? And so that does help me to do that. And the reason why I asked that question is because I do weight management. I work with a lot of clients with weight management in healthcare, and I include intention setting in our plan because it's so important to me that mentally we're having that at the forefront because everything else we do, I think the energy will flow there as well. So
Mm.
with weight management, is there any tips or tools that you could share, maybe affirmations or a mantra or anything that would be helpful and beneficial?
Ah, that's a very good question. I feel like, intention, what with, first of all, with weight management, the asking yourself, why do I want to go on this journey? And, it can come from, the intention can come from either a place of love or a place of fear.
Right.
So to understanding, first for yourself, like where is it coming from? And it's just okay if it's starting from coming from a place of fear. And when we're aware of that, we can shift that, we can switch that. And instead of something that I have to pressure myself and force myself to do, because when we're not having fun, it's just really hard to like last with something, anything I feel in life. So to
So
be able to shift the mindset, well, yeah, when we do it from a place of love, it's something that, oh, okay, and then, think of from that angle. There's not a specific mantra, I would say, because it's really personal for each person. But what, for yourself, what is that you want? From there, what is it like you want to feel? Is it feeling safe in your body? Um, I love that, at the beginning you already share, for you meditation is all the energy tools. It's also helping you to clear energies. And, it is because a lot of us, we are sensitive. We do feel and pick up a lot, and then we don't realize that. A lot of us don't realize that. Not, aware of we can do that. And sometimes, having the weight, not all, I'm just saying for sometimes people, that's like a padding, right? A protection of just not wanting to feel so much. It's just too overwhelming. So, really depends, right? Each person, like, is it like a feeling safe in my body? Um, is it like the feeling of love for ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really coming back to yourself to ask.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's really important because I've always because most people I'm dealing with they're wanting to lose weight. So one of the things I always say that I'm releasing excess, body weight that no longer serves me. I'm releasing everything that no longer serves me. And then when we start to kind of dig beneath those layers, emotional, this or that, along with the emotional release, the weight starts to fall off as well. So
mm,
it's good to know that you said that sometimes when you gain weight, sometimes it is that padding, and people don't understand that you're holding on to things that don't even belong to you.
mm. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. As a
Um,
way to protecting ourselves.
yeah. And I didn't really know I was a sensitive person until later. Like, I felt like I've always had this observation way of going through life. Like I'm always observing things, and I've always felt the things. But when I really understood that, you know what, I don't have to hold on to this when it doesn't belong to me, I could release that. And I started to do the energy work and releasing. It's like my energy is just like flowing just amazingly. And I know there's so many people out there. I just say they're sensitive, they're empaths, they feel everything, but they don't know how to regulate that or they don't know how to release that. Is there
Mm.
any advice that you could give for those people?
Oh, yes. I mean, there are definitely a lot of energy tools, and the one that you mentioned, the one you do, like those are also very helpful. I would really see it as, like kind of three categories. So one is learning how to ground your own energy first,
Mm.
and that's the meditation that's coming in. Meditation is on a way is not an escape to a different dimension. It's really, to me, it's really being grounded in the present. And
Yeah.
number two is learning to, like you said, like the clearing and the cleansing of the energy. Um, and number three is learning how to protect your own energy. And in a way, actually, when we do meditation, we think about it in the frequency level. We are raising up our vibration, raising our frequency as we do meditation. So naturally, it's a natural protection in a way. Of course, there are so many different tools with, along those three categories. And with the cleansing part, there's, like you said, you can use, if you think about different elements, I love that you use like water, just like that intention, right? Like using the shower water to do the cleansing for yourself. Um, and somehow, even like working out, like when people like go sweating, in a way, it's actually releasing
Yeah.
energies that also, like, besides the physical part,
Yeah.
um, and also very grounding as well. So a lot of the like really basic self-care things like we already know but we don't really do.
Yeah.
Like sleeping enough or like
Yeah.
just moving your body is actually all helps with like the grounding and the cleansing, clearing and the protection as well.
Yeah. And so, and grounding, I actually do like actual grounding. I'm out there, with no shoes on, outside,
Mm,
bare feet. How does that help using that earth element?
yeah. How does it help to ground ourselves, you
Yeah.
mean? So I know like people have done the research, actually, when you put your feet on soil, when you do earthing, like you said, like being barefoot, there is actually that particles, but I don't know the name, sorry, but it really, helps you just to
Yep.
ground. And to me, we are a part of nature. And so when we just even taking a walk outside, like even with shoes on, is fine. When you just spend time in nature, naturally, you will get, that those healing, um, and from nature itself. And it is like, done by science, like research also on, for example, forest bathing. If you heard of forest bathing before, when people just go into nature and it's a type of therapy, you can say that they go into nature, and there's all these invitations to interact with nature in a very mindful way and just really slowing down, regulating the nervous system.
Yeah, and that's what it really boils down to, is definitely regulating the nervous system. All right, so let's talk a little bit about emotions and love versus fear, because I know you like
Mm,
talking about that as well, and emotional healing. Um, and I feel emotions is energy in motion. Everything is energy.
yes.
We're talking about energy clearing, energy protection, all of that. So how would you describe someone who knows that they are in a lot of fear? Like they're always anxious, they're scared, they can't they're just afraid to do anything. I mean, they're afraid to try something new. They're afraid to, and these are things they want to do, but they're in so much fear. What are some things that,
Mm,
I mean, real basic, like the top three things they could just start to do to kind of start moving through that fear? Because I believe we got to go through it and get to the other side to really, get what we want. But how do people even begin that journey?
mm. That's a very good question. And to me, I feel like first of all, like it's just taking care of yourself on the physical level, like just really nourishing yourself. And so, like what we talk about, like the rest, the sleep, the physical rest, and just like drinking well, like all these like basic like
Mhm.
self-care things, like just really to do that. And I know even for some people when they're so locked in fear, sometimes they don't really feel like they have the energy to do that too. And I feel like it's just being able to allow yourself like create that safe space for yourself to whatever that you need. Sometimes it is, have to take some medicine to create that safe space for you at the moment, and that's okay.
Mhm.
And number two, it's the acceptance, like I mentioned earlier. It really helped me a lot because, like I said, when we say, I accept, this is where I am at the moment, I accept that I'm feeling a lot of fear. And even with people with a lot of spiritual knowledge, for example, sometimes that could even, like the mind knows, oh, I know I should be grateful over this. I know I should be. And then but something is not like, oh, we're not there yet. And
Mhm.
so it's okay and say, well, I accept this is the state that I'm in at the moment. So we're releasing that resistance. Like we're not, again, because the mind is resisting, like, oh, I should be either doing this or like I'm still thinking of what's going on. Of course, if the fear is related to anything that's like if you experience a trauma, there's a lot of kind of trauma therapy that can help people just as to be, like somatic experiencing, for example. It's just one thing that I have experienced myself. Just really kind of bring yourself back to the body. And again, it's talking about like regulating that nervous system for you. So just bring yourself like from that, fight, flight, freeze mode to able to kind of sit back to that rest and digest mode.
Mhm. Yeah. One of the things, one thing I do know, and even science backs this up, is that energy is never created nor destroyed. It is only
Mm,
transferred or it changes shape and form. So one of the things that I do is help people release. And I do release through fire. Like we'll get it
mm,
all out. We'll get everything out, all the drama, all the trauma, all the hurt, all the pain, all the chatter that keeps playing. We get it out, we write it. So we transferring because energy, and that energy does not die. It's always there. So we transfer it from in out onto the paper. And then when we're ready, we release through fire and we set it ablaze or whatever we do. So I know one of the things just at your retreat is releasing ceremonies through the elementals, and fire is an elemental. What's your take on that? Or what are some of the things you guys do there?
well, we do exactly what you said. I love it. We do
Awesome.
exactly what
Yeah.
you said. So we also use fire because you already know the power of fire.
Yes.
And like you said, we write down what we want to release, and we will actually ask the person to read it out loud just for themselves to hear it and to bring up that feeling, and then to blow using your breath to transfer that feeling into the piece of paper. So now the piece of paper holds all that, like you said, that energy, and then
Mm.
you release into the fire. And so that's what there's actually we do. We will some kind of variation. Also, sometimes we'll use the stick. It's a shamanic practice that I learned. Also, very easy and simple. So people can come here and they've done that. And then I always tell them this is a new, like a tool that you can use to really, help you when you go back home. It's so easy to practice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can use water. So water can be, you just think of the four elements: water, fire, earth, and air. And so sometimes with kids, they love it because sometimes, with fire, if you're not so sure about safety. I ask them to write down, we have some stones, and they write down what they want to release on the stone. Sometimes with children, they can just draw a picture.
Mm.
Maybe it's like a sad
Yeah.
face or like monster,
Yeah.
and then they can release it because we have a lake here, and same thing, blow your energy, and then you can release it into the lake
Ah, that's good
in
stuff.
water.
Yeah. All righty. So, what is shamanic journeying? What is that? Like, what is
Mm.
shamanic? What is that for, the people who's like, what is that? I never heard of that before. What is that?
So, shamanism, it's really, for me, it's a way of life and has been for like, it's really an ancient practice. You're dating back like many, many years ago when we were still living in tribal communities. And it's really just viewing everything as a life, as a spirit
Mm.
or an energy, right? So even a plant and even a stone has this consciousness or has this energy. And uh, and really everybody have that connection to nature because like I said, we are part of nature. We have all these elements that are within us, and to learn how to live in harmony with nature. So the interesting with shamanism, that my understanding is a little different than the Western world. The perspective is that we always, shamanism, they always think in, we think of the community first, the world, and then you think about your community, and last you think about yourself. Whereas the way how we most society now, we think about ourselves first and the community and the world. And so all the practices, the shamanic practices, really learn to be in harmony with, in that way, like with harmony with the world, being in harmony with your community and being in harmony with yourself. So
Yeah.
shamanic journeying, in a way, I usually present as a type of meditation, like a visualization type of meditation for people to experience it. If we're going to go deeper into like, well, understanding what it is, um, shamans, just very general, very general. My understanding is that, there's three different worlds, right? So there's the middle world. This is where we're in, the human world. And then there's the lower world, which is, where our spirit animals reside, or there's like the plant medicine knowledge reside. And there's the upper world, which is kind of like how we think of heaven to be. And so there's our ancestors, god or goddesses, angels, spiritual teachers that you believe they reside in the upper world. And so when we go on this journey, it's believing our soul can travel to these different realms. We call them kind of transcendent realms, and to kind of get guidance, get wisdom from, all these different guides. They're here to help us and bring it back to the human world. So
Mm.
that's one way to explain it. So that's why if you heard people say shamanic journey to meet your spirit animal, for example, or to meet your spirit guide, that's what it means. It's really just, another way. What I really love about shamanism is also a direct, they call it path of direct revelation. So
Okay.
you're having direct contact with the divine or the universe, or however you want to say or name that bigger presence is around you. There's no really a middleman. You're building that connection directly,
Yeah.
for yourself,
Now,
with
do
yourself.
you all do that through ceremony? Do you do that? How do you do this journeying? Is it a one-time thing or is it a practice or how does that begin?
Yeah, so it is definitely um, for me. So I use it as a tool for meditation. So one of my tools for meditation. And you can do, there are a lot of like guided shamanic during meditation online as well. People can find that, and you can, when you have a quiet space by yourself, not disturb, you can definitely do that. And then there's more kind of immersive experiences where there's like ceremonies, depending, on what that immersive experience is all about. Sometimes people they go for like plant medicine ceremonies, for example, so it will be incorporated in it as well, like shamanic journeying.
Okay. Now, and you also said you do the card reading, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's demystify that. Can you
Mm,
explain to our listeners, what is card reading? Because we see a lot of people doing it. Some people think it's very woo-woo. I think all of these things are tools. All of it is
mm,
tools to connect to the divine energy. And there's just one divine energy and it's everywhere. But some people use different tools to connect. Some people do crystals, some people do card reading, some people do meditation, some people do all these things. And that the power is still with the divine. We don't give the power to the tool. We don't give the power to the cards, or we don't give the power to the crystal, or we don't give the power to the meditation. You're just using it as a tool. And that's how I see that. And that's
yes.
how
Mm,
the divine has really given me that revelation. So
mm,
I just want to ask you, because this is a part of your practice and your tools. So
mm.
how do you define that for the people that think it's woo-woo and all the other things?
Well, thank you. Well, you said it so well already. And I would say maybe it's probably different for each person, just like, there are so many different people who do card readings, just like there are so many different
Yeah.
yoga teachers, and everybody will explain it in their own style. And the way I do card reading is because I also see it as a tool to tap into our intuition. So it's not fortune telling for me. I don't do fortune telling. I can't tell you when things are going to happen, if things are going to happen. So that's not what I do in my card reading. When I do card reading, I let the client to pick the card, and we're focusing on what are the soul lessons that are going through at the moment, and based on your current energy now, what is kind of like a projection, right? What's like the next step that is kind of like showing. So a lot of time, I'll ask the client to look at the card and to tell me what they see from the card as a way for them to connect with their intuition.
Yeah.
And like you said, it is all these tools, like to connect with the divine, you can say, with the energy, and just you can use any different tools really. And the tools, it's not they how to say they don't hold a power to you unless you give them to. And I feel like that's where superstition starts to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, like as a kid, you used to hear people say, you step on a crack, you break your mama's back. And if you're consciously not trying to step on a crack, then you are given that superstition of the power. So, I totally understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's coming from a space of fear, right? Because we're scared, and that's why. And that makes it a superstition, I feel.
Exactly.
Whereas when it's coming from a place of love, it will have a very different feeling to it, and use it as a tool to help you. I pick a card every day for myself. It's like, what's the message for me today? And it's
Yeah.
just like a really good a way to either reconfirm my intuition. So sometimes in my meditation, I already have something come up, and the card just, oh yeah, okay, reconfirm like my intuition. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's something that maybe I'm not thinking of or consciously aware of, and it comes up this topic. I was like, okay, interesting. That's something that I'm going to look out for today. It's like my theme for today. I'm just going to see how it's going to unfold.
Yeah. All right. So, we know you have this beautiful retreat center, just creative studio, boutique, butterfly room, outdoor fire pits, and organic farm. And you guys have accommodations there. Can you speak a little bit about, how people can find you? Here in the US, it's a lot of hustle and bustle. So people tend to go on these, self-discovering journeys. And if you're going to be going to Thailand, you should definitely check out Tanya Center. So, can you just let everybody know, the best way to reach you, or, make accommodations with the retreat, anything like that?
Yeah, so you can definitely find us our website, which is museflowerretreat.com, and Muse and Flowers is one word. And we're based in northern Thailand. So the scenery here, it's actually like mountain and lakes. So it's not like the beaches. That's like the south of Thailand. And yeah, like you said, if you're looking for a place to really to be in nature, be like a quiet space in nature, want to do some yoga, some meditation, some spa. I think what we're a little bit, or I feel like what kind of makes us unique is we have these retreat programs, but like it's also very flexible. So we see it's like retreat holiday. So you can do all the things you want to do, or you can do as little as you want. So everything is invitational. You don't have to wake up 4 a.m. in the morning to do meditation. Our earliest class started at 7 a.m. So, and and there's a very, because I come from the spa management background, so there's a very strong spa component, just, going there feeling really nourished. So all our offerings is really about, creating this nourishing space,
Yeah.
for you to nourish yourself, and that kind of creating that feeling of safety also. And then when we feel safe, that's where we feel safe to, oh, I can release. Like you
Yeah.
said, like release this excessive weight that no longer serve me.
Exactly. All right. So, Tanya, um, is there a book you could recommend to our listeners, that maybe helped you along the way? It could have something to do with meditation. It doesn't have to. Just anything that helped you along the way on your journey.
Yes, I love that you asked that because that came into my mind today. So that was my intuition. And I was like looking at that book. It's called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. So have you heard of that book before? Or you
I
read
have
the book
not.
before?
I have not.
Ah, okay. So you must, if you have a chance, it's called The Artist's Way. So it's talk about creativity,
Mm.
but in a spiritual sense. And it's actually divided into kind of like a 12-week like journal thing. So you read a chapter 1 week, and there's all these journaling prompts
Okay.
that like she has for every week, and it's to help us to step into our creative power, not just like artistic creativity, but we're the artists of our lives, right? Like we have this creative power to create our lives. So this is what really the book is about, and it's a really powerful book to follow those the exercises she recommend, what she shared each chapter, and do the exercises, the journal exercises.
Okay, so the artist way, we'll have to check that
Yes.
out. All right. And today, at the recording of this podcast, what would you say is the greatest matter of your heart?
The greatest matter of my heart. I really want to circle back to like the very first thing that you shared about your own practice, and to like really normalize that as well, because I feel like there are a lot of people out there who are very sensitive, but they don't recognize that as their superpower.
Yeah.
And they even feel, I always tell people your sensitivity is your superpower, but it's important to learn how to master them. And sometimes I feel like a lot of people have that issue of feeling sensitive, and they feel like they're the only one, and they feel like they're weird. They feel like they're going crazy. Some of them actually they have to go through mental
Yep.
treatments in the Western world, and so you even mentioning that like you use these tools, and it's really like when you say like it's so these tools are really practical, and sensitive people all around, like they're you don't think they're sensitive, but they are.
Mhm.
um and so that's just a really normalized that like yes, we're sensitive, and we have this is a superpower,
Yeah.
and these are our gifts, and it points to like this is the purpose why we're here. And so
Yep.
to be really to own that.
Yeah. I like that. That's so important. When I did get to the point where, you know what? I might sound weird to people. Even when I started this podcast and I started talking about the things that I talk about, it's out of the box for a lot of people. Even the different modalities, because I'm in healthcare, it's different than pharmaceuticals, right? Or whatever. So once I own that power, like you said, like this is your superpower, this is your strength, this is what makes you unique. And
Mm,
it needs to be out in the world. And once I own that, and then I embodied it, and then I just stepped into it, I didn't care what nobody else said after that. But I
Yeah.
did have to, there was a process of owning that and being the eyeball, because sometimes you do feel like,
Yeah.
I woo woo or they woo woo,
Yeah, I know what I mean.
Yeah. But it's
Yes,
yeah, but
definitely.
when you own it, it's fun. It's and when you welcome it, I tell people welcome your spiritual gifts, welcome it, participate with it. And the more it'll open up to you as well. So that's a beautiful just reminder to everybody out there. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Anything else you want to leave with our listeners at all? I could go on and on and on, but it's been about an hour. So, any other tips?
Um, any other tip? I mean, just circle back to meditation. Really, the most important thing is just to experiment with like different type of meditations. Like that's what we'll say. Like you try one, you like it, and then, sometimes even when we don't love it, you just like it, stick with it first. And that's
Yeah,
how I started with my practice too. Like I started with like visualization, which also worked for me. And then later on, I got to learn about mantra meditation, which really landed for me. So that's okay too. You like start to build on top of it. So I think everything we do, we have to think about we're setting ourselves up for success, right? There's so many books out there talk about like, habit stacking and stuff and how to find time. Just think about everything we do, we're trying to set ourselves up for success. So it's even for meditation, like the thoughts, the mindset we have, the expectations we have. If it's not serving that, if it's not setting yourself up for success, let's change that. Let's shift that.
exactly. I agree with that. And it's our intention behind it. Like, do we want to meditate because we really want to be better or to clear this energy or to heal or in your case to get through grief, whatever it is what is your intention. You shouldn't meditate because it's the thing that's out there right now. That's not what it should be. Your intention should be pure at heart. And I tell people when you have pure intentions, the universe will open up to you in that case. And
Mm,
also, just on I guess, a scientific background, it connects us to our right brain, which is our creativity. We have been very programmed in our left brain, which is very logical data, measuring. So the measurements is, I want that house, I want that job, I want that title. I'm not successful if I don't have that X amount of money in my bank. And those are all the measurements because that's the left brain and it's also the masculine side. So I feel
mm,
like in this beauty of meditation is connecting us to our right side, our feminine side, our creative side, our loving side. It's just beautiful in so many ways. So yeah. And it's really
yes.
for balance. It's not to
Mm-hmm.
say one, you need both sides, but I feel like that side have been suppressed for a long time. And I think it's just so that we can come into balance, that we could do our actions in the world, but we could have love and compassion and healing at the same time.
Yes, I definitely agree. And to me, it's always it's a collaboration. It's a collaboration between the two sides of your brain.
Exactly. All right, guys, that is it. This has been another episode of Matters of the Heart and Soul podcast. This podcast is inspired by love, relationships, spirituality, justice, culture, family, children, finances, freedom, personal growth, energy and vibration, universal principles, health, education, masculine, feminine energies. And all things of the heart and soul, guys. This is to definitely be a beacon of light on your life journey. And if you want to connect with Tanya when you're in Thailand, please reach out to her. And until next time, take care. Lots of love and light.